There's no other way. Because the reason why he comes from increase isn't because he's handled the Father's money well. It's because the Father has handled his resources well, which is why he has an abundance. Say it a different way. If you stay at home long enough and sit at the table and ask your parents sensible questions about life, they will show you how to manage your money, show you how to manage your time, show you how to do time management. But if you leave too soon, you will live like a pig. I thought this was supposed to be Youth Week of Prayer. How come he's not bigging us up so that we can clap and so our parents will feel really bad? Well, the reason why is because young people, we make poor decisions because we don't have enough experience. And because we don't have enough experience, we think that our high school and our little college degrees, when we get a 4.0 or a 3.5 or a 3.0 or a... What we don't understand is that knowledge is nothing without wisdom. And the wisdom that our parents have, even when they made mistakes, is better than us having to live our own mistakes. Amen, Pastor Anderson. So now watch what happens now. He runs out of stuff. He's now connected to a citizen of a far country. And guess what happens? And I love the way that the Bible says. The Bible records that, and even though this is a parable, it's still applicable today, that this young man came to himself. Parents, last point, and then I'm going to focus on the young people. At some point in their lives, you have to leave them. And even if you can see it's going to cost you some lawyer fees, sometimes you've got to leave them, because when you leave them, the Lord will help them to come to themselves. So he comes to himself. We're almost there. And he finds himself running back to the Father because he realizes that I'm living out here in lack. And wherever my Father is, even though the Bible doesn't say that he's visited from time to time, he knows that if I can just make it home, I can get back to my Father. Maybe what I want to tell you guys today is this: that no matter what happens to you in life, in your home life, in the experiences that you have in the church, the worst thing you can do is suffer and not change. Yeah, we're talking about game changers today, because here's where his life begins to change. When he's out there and he realizes, I've made a mistake and I've run out of stuff and my friends have left me down, he doesn't continue to live there. He says, I'm going home. Why is he going home? Maybe his motives aren't initially pure, but he's sensible enough to know that if I'm out here and I'm smoking cigarettes 2 packs a day when nobody in my family smokes, I need to go home. I'm drinking every single day. The money that I get from my OSAP, I use it to go downtown on Adelaide and King and University Avenue, and I'm up in the CN Tower. I'm squandering all of my OSAP money. My grades are low, but I'm having fun. You have to come home. Why do you have to come home? You have to come home because here's what the Bible records. That when he finally makes it wherever he's coming from to the Father's house, the Father, unlike the friends, unlike the citizen of the country, he's watching for him. Not only is he watching for him, he's willing now, if he can just see his son coming from down the road, he's even willing to jeopardize his own life if it means he'll save his son. And what if the young people knew that if they just try to make it home, we would almost die for them? Oh, don't let me move from this pulpit because I feel something coming on. One of the challenges of the West Indian, the church, because this sermon is about family. One of the greatest mistakes that we often make is making our children feel guilty when they already know what they've already done, and when they come home, it's not to sit down and lecture all the time. They smell like garbage. Their brains are fried. They've got more issues than when they left the home. If they come home, take them. Amen. Wow. Keep going. He comes home and the father runs out to him, and the father dresses him and makes him feel as if he's already cleaned up, even though he smells like garbage. He brings him into the house and he sends the servants to go out now, and the servants are responsible for creating this feast, this big old feast with food and music and family and fun. And I wonder, have you ever thought about the fact that when the son comes home, what's at stake isn't whether or not the son dies on his way home, but maybe greater than that is the perception of how other people who are technically not a part of the family, how they perceive the father's love? Do we not understand and know that sometimes people don't come to church because the preaching is loud or the music is not good? They don't come because when they watch how we deal with our families, they'd rather take their chances out there than in here. You should know by now, it's not about making friends in the sermonic moment for me. After I'm finished preaching, I will go back to hugging and smiling and kissing and loving, but for now, this is the moment. When his father creates this feast of fellowship despite the fact that his son wished that he was dead, those that are connected to the father because they are slaves within his house, they recognize that this man, if he can love his own son that embarrassed him, he can love us too. So now watch. And here's the crux of the message. When the younger son comes home, his brother isn't even looking for him. Can you imagine that? Many of you have brothers and sisters in this room. Can you imagine you've been in the crack house, the prostitution house? You've been going from food stamp to food stamp, all because you decide to do a certain thing with your life, and you forget about them so much so that they come home, and as a sibling, one brother to the next, you don't even know that they're home. The father is already in the midst of planning a feast. The father has already demonstrated his love for his son in that he runs to cover him before the neighbors can stone him to death, which by right they can do based on Deuteronomy. And while all of this is happening, because the son is home but detached from the father, he has no care in the world for his brother. So watch this now. Because the brother, like many of us, never left home. Never left the Adventist church once you joined it. You don't even wear makeup anymore. As a matter of fact, you don't even laugh loud anymore because that would be seen as secular. Can you imagine the older brother now recognizing that there's about to be a celebration for his son who's at home? He won't come in. And yet he refuses to leave the father's property to go out. Think about this for a minute. How many of us are guilty of watching people who have left the church? They find a way to scrape their way home. They come in. They come for the appeal. They get rebaptized. They join the church. And then guess what? You're mad. because they want to join the church, when why shouldn't they be able to join the church? Look at all they've done. Look at the tattoos they now have, and the ear piercings, and the smell of smoke on their jacket. They don't belong here. Well, too bad for you. Can you imagine a father? He's already disgraced himself once by running out to the son, brings him in, dresses him, is about to throw a party for him, and look what else is happening. You see those same citizens that watched the father's love for the son that came home? They're now watching the son's lack of love for the father. Because our love for Jesus Christ isn't based on our singing or preaching. It's based on how we treat people who have issues. Live by faith, known for love, liberate with hope. How can we do all of the above when we're mad? When people who don't smell like us, sound like us, have the same experiences like us, we're mad when Jesus calls them home. Now, what's the problem? Let me tell you what the problem is. The reason why, according to Middle Eastern culture, the father ran out to get the son is for this reason. By right, it was not the father's responsibility to run after the son. That was the responsibility of his older brother. Culture. So when the father looks around and his son, who's supposed to intercede, isn't running, it becomes game two. So now he runs out after his son because his other son won't do it. And then the text finishes this way, that the older son and the father are sitting talking, standing there talking in the middle of his plot of property. And then the son doesn't decide to go home before the end of the chapter. Isn't that sad? Why won't he come in? I'll tell you why. The older son was mad at the younger son for asking for 1/3. But when he doesn't run out for his brother and refuses to come in when his father is talking with him and reasoning with him, what he's really saying is, I want it all and I want you dead too. That's the context. Because if the father runs out and gets the son and the neighbors don't care about the father, they would have killed both of them at the same time and he would have had everything. So who's worse? The son who left or the son who stayed? So who's worse? Pastor Anderson, who's not perfect, or you, who's not perfect but pretends to be perfect? Who's worse? The woman who has the child out of wedlock, or you who has more than enough diapers at home but refuses to share because she had premarital sex? Who's worse? Who's worse? The person who sings on the praise team and they shake up themselves too much, or you who's singing at the top of your lungs and cursing in your mind after every chorus and verse? Who's worse? I want you to take me seriously this morning. Because you know what it is? Jesus came down to this earth to save us because the Pharisees and the scribes were just like the son who stayed home. And because they refused to run and get to their brother, Jesus came to intercede on our behalf. And maybe I've just talked a whole bunch for the last 45 minutes to tell you this, young people. See this church? This is your home. Let nobody run you from this building because you don't fit their cookie cutter idea of God's grace and His love. Don't clap yet. But also, don't come into the Father's house and think that you can bring all of your worldly stuff in here, and those of us that are trying to be spiritual can't talk to you. It's both and. Because it doesn't make sense to me to wake up early on a Sabbath morning and come to church every single week and do everything that we know we do on a Friday night. Get rid of it. Let it go. Why? Why, Pastor Anderson? You see that fatted calf, that sacrifice? That animal was being fed day after day after day after day. Why? Because in order to celebrate, the sacrifice has to die. In order for Jesus to take us home, self is going to have to die. In order for Jesus to take us home, we are going to have to get to a place where we love unconditionally, so that when people, young people, older people come to themselves, they will walk into a building where people are ready to receive them, even if they don't have it together. That's all I wanted to tell you. Let go of the cold hearts. Let go of the world. Let go of the judgmental without love behind it. Let go of some of the friends that are taking us away down the road, but they're not going to bring us back. And let me tell you this, to those of you that think you may have the rest of your life, notice how the story goes. When the younger brother came home, he didn't wait for the older brother to come and celebrate before the party started. You know what that means? If we don't come to a place where we come home in our hearts, Jesus will come and take those that are ready and leave the rest of us behind. So all I want to say is this. Wherever you are in the building today, I want to give you an opportunity at the beginning of this week to come home. And then spend the rest of the week hearing some messages and some music and some song and some scripture and some prayer. Because by next week's Sabbath, you can be different. How do you know, Pastor Anderson? Come on, praise team. While the praise team is coming, I want to tell you what happened. Years ago, before I became a Christian, I had some friends that would always take me out to clubs. And let me just say this disclaimer before I tell you this. You don't have to have life's darkest experiences to be a witness. I wish I would have been able to stand here as a preacher and say that, you know what, I never left the church and I'm still here. I don't have that. But some of you as young people can have that story even though I messed up. Come on, church, help me out. Years ago, when I was out there in the world doing my own thing, there came a point where I knew I had to make one decision or another. It was very clear as day. The Lord was showing me different things in my life, and I was just like, no, I can't come home. There's no way I can come home because I've done too much. I'll never forget the last night I went to a club. Week of prayer, Ray Patrick from England is preaching his heart out. And I know now is the time for me to make a decision. I'll never forget. That night I compromised. And I'm standing in a club knowing that I would have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to be a part of the prayer team. True story. It's not a download. This is my life. How am I going to be able to get up to pray at 4 if I'm still in the club at 2. Just can't happen. That night, that last night that I ever went out, that was the night that I almost died. See, this is the way that the enemy is. God is calling, the enemy is watching what God is doing in your life, and that's when he turns up the heat on temptation. Standing in the club, tried to sit there thinking I could be a witness. How can you witness in a club with an alcoholic beverage and a spliff in your hand? It's hard to witness that way. That night, I'll never forget. While I was in there pretending like I was witnessing for Jesus, the outside of the club was getting shot up, and I didn't know that a bullet whizzed past my head. Not until the lights went on did we see the bullet hole. And it's just a reminder that if you don't come all the way home, you'll never actually make it home. Are you with me? Almost home is still outside. So the praise team's going to sing a big song right now. And here's what the Lord told me last night as I was sitting there. He said, today, you're going to lose some friends, Andre. Some people are going to be mad at you for preaching this text this way. Some people are going to actually hope that you get transferred to another church after this message. This is what God told me last night. And I almost started to cry as I was sitting at my desk because I was like, why? Because you know what it is? Some of us that stay close to the Father, we're far. And all I want to do is just make an invitation to you today, young people, parents, grandparents. If you're on your way home and you're hesitating, let today be the day you come all the way home. Some of you are going to come down here today with tears in your eyes because I've already seen this moment. But don't allow people's response to you coming change the fact that you need to come home. Why? Because with or without you, as much as God loves you, the party is going to start. And you don't want to be left behind. So I'm going to sit down. The praise team's going to sing. And after they've sung, I'm going to stand up here. I'm not going to say a word, and I'm going to wait for whoever you are in this building to come. And when you come, we're going to pray. And after we pray, I'm going to ask you, are you ready to be baptized and give your heart to the Lord? And if you say yes, we're going to plan a baptism just for you.